There comes a moment in every parent's life when something shifts. You spent years nurturing, guiding, and giving everything to your children. You sacrificed sleep when they were infants, worked hard to give them a good life, and put their needs before your own. That's what parents do. But now, something feels different. They dismiss your words, brush off your concerns, and, perhaps worst of all, they make you feel invisible. It's as if the respect that once came naturally is slowly fading, and that hurts. If you've ever felt this way, you are not alone. Many parents, especially as they grow older, experience this painful change. You might wonder, what did I do wrong? Why don't they value my presence the way they used to? The truth is, this isn't just happening to you. It's a silent struggle many parents face, but few talk about. It's tempting to fight back, to remind them of all the sacrifices you made, to demand the respect you deserve. But here's the hard truth. Arguing won't bring it back. In fact, it often pushes them further away. But that doesn't mean you're powerless. Respect isn't something you beg for. It's something you inspire. And today, I'll show you exactly how to do that. 6 simple but powerful shifts that can completely transform your relationship with your children. Some of these might surprise you, but stay with me until the end, and you'll see just how much of a difference these changes can make. Before we begin, if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button for more insightful videos. Now, let's start with the first and most important step. 1. Stop chasing their approval. At some point, without even realizing it, you may have started seeking their approval. Not in obvious ways, but in small, quiet compromises. Saying yes when you'd rather say no. Holding back opinions to avoid conflict. Going out of your way to make their lives easier. Hoping for appreciation in return. But instead of gratitude, you feel overlooked. Conversations feel one-sided. They dismiss your concerns, make decisions without considering you, or barely acknowledge the effort you put in. And it stings. After all, you raise them with love and care. Shouldn't that count for something? And here's the hard truth. The more you chase their approval, the less they respect you. It sounds unfair, but deep down, you know it's true. People, your children included, respect those who respect themselves. When you prioritize their happiness over your own, you unknowingly teach them that your needs don't matter, that you'll always accommodate them, no matter how they treat you. Now, pause for a moment and ask yourself, when was the last time you said no without guilt? When was the last time you prioritized your own needs? If it's been a while, that might be part of the problem. Starting today, stop trying to be liked by your children and focus on being respected. That doesn't mean being harsh or distant. It means standing firm in who you are. Speak your mind, set boundaries, and don't be afraid to disagree. You'll be surprised at how the dynamic shifts. Because when you stop needing their approval, something incredible happens. They start to see you in a whole new light. And that is the first step toward rebuilding the respect you deserve. 2. Don't argue. Now that you've stopped chasing their approval, you might be wondering, what if they still don't respect me? Shouldn't I remind them of everything I've done? Shouldn't I stand up for myself? It's a natural instinct. When your children dismiss you, you may feel the urge to argue, to list all the sacrifices you made, to demand the recognition you deserve. But here's the problem. Arguing never works. Think about a time when someone tried to force you to respect them through words alone. Did it work? Or did it push you further away? Respect isn't won in a debate. It's earned through presence, through composure, through quiet confidence. Take the story of a retired teacher named Walter. All his life, he was used to commanding attention in the classroom, expecting his words to carry weight. But with his own children, it was different. They dismissed his advice, cut him off mid-sentence, and spoke over him. Frustrated, he pushed harder. correcting them, arguing back, trying to make them listen. But the more he fought for respect, the less they gave it. One day, Walter made a shift. Instead of arguing, he simply stopped reacting. When his son interrupted him, he didn't raise his voice. He just calmly said, "I won't be spoken to like that," and walked away. No anger, no lectures, just quiet strength. And something unexpected happened. His son started listening. The next time your child speaks dismissively, don't engage in a battle of words. Instead, meet their behavior with calm certainty. Look them in the eye, set the boundary, and walk away. Your silence will say more than words ever could. Over time, they'll start to notice, and that is when real respect begins to return. 3. Withdraw your emotional dependence. There's another hidden challenge to be aware of, one that's easy to overlook because it comes from a place of love. As parents, it's natural to want a close, meaningful relationship with your children. But as you grow older, there's an unexpected lesson. You can't rely on them for emotional fulfillment. Many parents unknowingly place their happiness in their children's hands, waiting for their calls, feeling anxious when they don't check in, or measuring their self-worth by how much attention they receive. But here's the hard truth. The more you rely on them for validation, the more it starts to feel like a burden. And the more they feel pressured, the more they pull away. But when you shift your perspective, when you stop needing their constant attention, something amazing happens. They start coming to you. Think about it. People are naturally drawn to those who are secure, fulfilled, and content within themselves. When your children see that your happiness isn't dependent on them, they feel more at ease, more willing to connect, and more respectful of your time. So, how do you make this shift? Start by focusing on yourself. Find hobbies, friendships, and activities that bring you joy, things that have nothing to do with your children. Reduce how often you reach out first, and see how often they initiate contact instead. And most importantly, remember, independence is attractive, even in relationships with your children. When they see you living fully, they won't just love you, they'll respect you. If you've stayed with me this far, I hope these insights have given you something valuable to reflect on. Remember, respect starts with you. If this message resonated with you, please subscribe and share it with someone who might need to hear it. Now, let's continue. 4. Set boundaries. As you start building a life beyond your children, there's one final shift that must happen. One that may feel uncomfortable at first, but is absolutely necessary. Many parents hesitate to set boundaries, fearing it will create distance. But let me ask you this. Do you respect people who let you walk all over them? Of course not. Respect isn't given freely. It's built through clear expectations. If your children interrupt you, dismiss your concerns, or treat you like an afterthought, and you say nothing, they learn that this is acceptable. It doesn't mean they don't love you, but people, children included, respond to the standards we set. The truth is, when you tolerate disrespect, you teach them that it's okay. But when you calmly enforce a boundary, you teach them to value your presence. Consider Robert, a retired father who always helped his son financially. Whenever his son called last minute asking for money, Robert would send it, no questions asked. But over time, he noticed something. His son had stopped saying thank you. The requests became expectations. One day, Robert made a decision. When his son called again, Robert simply said, "I can't help this time." His son was shocked. At first, he was frustrated. But over time, something shifted. He started managing his own finances better, and even showed more appreciation for his father. Setting boundaries doesn't mean shutting your children out. It means making it clear how you expect to be treated. The next time your child dismisses your words, calmly say, "I deserve to be heard. If you're not willing to listen, we'll talk later." And then step away. No anger, no pleading, just quiet confidence. Because when you respect yourself enough to set boundaries, others will follow. 5. Stop giving without appreciation. As you set boundaries, there's another habit that may be quietly eroding your children's respect: giving too much without appreciation. As parents, giving feels natural. You've spent decades providing your time, your money, your support, without expecting anything in return. But here's the harsh truth. If you continue giving when it's not valued, you're not building love. You're creating entitlement. Think about it this way. Imagine a stranger at your local cafe hands you a free cup of coffee every morning. At first, you'd be touched. You'd probably thank them. But if they did this every day without fail, what would happen? Eventually, you'd stop noticing. You'd grab the cup and move on. Not because you're ungrateful, but because what is always given is rarely valued. It's the same with relationships. If you find yourself constantly giving, whether it's money, favors, or even emotional support, and your children barely acknowledge it, pause. See what happens when you stop. Do they notice? Do they ask if you're okay? Or do they only come around when they need something? That moment will tell you everything. This isn't about withholding love. It's about ensuring your love is valued. Generosity should come from a place of joy, not obligation. And sometimes, the most loving thing you can do is step back and let others realize what they've taken for granted. When you stop overgiving, you give your children the chance to appreciate you, not just for what you provide, but for who you are. And that is the foundation of true respect. 6. Build a life outside of them. After years of giving, sacrificing, and putting your children first, it's natural to believe that being a devoted parent is the key to earning their respect. But here's a surprising truth. The less you make your children the center of your world, the more they respect you. Think about the people you admire most. Are they the ones who sit by the phone, waiting for attention? Or are they the ones who live with passion, who have interests, purpose, and fulfillment? Respect is drawn to strength. When your children see you thriving, not just existing, they begin to view you differently. They stop seeing you as someone who needs their time and attention, and instead as someone they want to be around. Consider the story of Margaret, a widow in her 70s who spent years hoping her children would visit more often. She reminded them constantly how much she missed them, but their calls remained infrequent, their visits rushed. Then, one day, she decided to make a change. She signed up for a painting class at the local community center. She reconnected with old friends. She even started traveling with a group of retirees. Something interesting happened. Her children started calling more. Not out of guilt, but curiosity. "Mom, where are you off to now?" they'd ask, fascinated by her new adventures. Margaret hadn't demanded respect. She had earned it by showing them that her life was full, meaningful, and worth admiring. So, what about you? What is one thing you can do today that brings you joy outside of your family? It doesn't have to be grand. Maybe it's a book club, a new hobby, or a morning walk that's just for you. When you start prioritizing your own happiness, something shifts. Your children stop seeing you as someone waiting on them and start seeing you as someone worth looking up to. Respect isn't something you can demand. It's something you inspire. If your children have started treating you with less care, don't waste your energy on anger or resentment. Instead, shift your approach. Stop chasing their approval. Set clear boundaries, and most importantly, start living for you. When you show confidence in your own worth, others will follow. You are worthy of respect, not because of what you provide, but because of who you are. And when you start seeing yourself that way, your children will too. It may not happen overnight, but small changes lead to powerful transformations. Every step you take, whether it's standing firm on a boundary, pausing instead of arguing, or pursuing a passion outside of them, moves you closer to a healthier, more fulfilling relationship. And now, it's your turn to take action. If this message resonated with you, please like, subscribe, and share it with someone who needs to hear this. And I'd love to hear from you. What's one step you'll take today to regain respect in your life? Drop a comment below, and let's support each other on this journey.